Flying Bull Productions presents LaF, Literature and Film.
Welcome to the special edition of LaF. LaF goes to the Oscars. Today's film is director John Crowley's critically acclaimed 1950s period drama, Brooklyn. Boasting impressive acting performances from Saoirse Ronan as young lass Eilis, Emory Cohen as her Italian working-class boyfriend Tony, and Domhnall Gleason as Jim Farrell, this movie effectively captures the Irish immigrant experience and examines the intense conflict between responsibility and romance. In addition to Best Picture, the film earned 2 other Oscar nominations for Best Actress and Best Adapted Screenplay from Nick Hornby, based on Colm Toibin's novel of the same name. Join us as the LaF Podcast takes the long, arduous journey by freighter to and from Ireland to review the film, Brooklyn.
Good stuff.
Yeah?
It's LaF Podcast. This is our British award-winning film. It won the Outstanding Prize for British Film at the current BAFTA Awards. It's up for 3 Oscars, as Mr. Anderson indicated, and one of them is Best Picture. That's why we're doing the show today. This movie may be the 3rd highest ranked movie for me of the 8 Oscar nominations.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I just did my list recently, and I looked at it, and I thought, wow, I like this movie a lot. And I like it a lot better than I would have expected, because I saw Brooklyn in the middle of a triple feature. It was bookended by Room and Macbeth.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was watching the movie, about halfway in, I thought, wow, this is pretty good. This might become my favorite movie of the 3. I was still holding out hope for Macbeth, though. And I was right. It turned out to be my favorite movie of the 3. What was your takeaway of the movie Brooklyn?
I enjoyed Brooklyn quite a bit. I was surprised how much I liked it. Generally, I don't care for these immigrant stories. I know one of your favorite films from either last year or the year before was The Immigrant.
My top 10.
That stuff just never really appealed to me a whole lot.
Gangs of
I'm
New
not
York.
Irish, so I don't really care about seeing what Ireland was 100 years ago. Just none of that's really got me going. But
Not quite 100 years. It's the 1950s, so.
I thought it was like 1915. This movie set in
1950s.
All right, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
All right. Seems
1950s
younger.
Brooklyn, huh?
All right, I still don't care about Ireland in,
All right,
in
so-
the 1950s. But
Yeah,
I
The
like
Immigrant was set back then.
I like the whole cast
Turn it.
though of this film. Everyone did a nice job. The movie never got preachy. It never really. I mean, I could tell all the beats that were coming, but it just did a nice job of telling the story.
The story unfolds.
Of Saoirse Ronan's character, Eilis Lacey, a young Irish immigrant.
Eilish.
Yeah.
And it's Saoirse. You're going to have problems with these Irish pronunciations.
Oh, I'm going to butcher it. It's going to be a good show.
Yeah.
It's just surprising we don't have a drinking game version of this show.
Well, you got Emory Cohen, who plays Tony, so you probably got that name. down.
Tony. I like Tony.
Domhnall Gleason plays Jim Farrell. That's pretty easy to say.
Yeah, as long as I don't look at the name written out on a piece of paper.
He's a strong contender for Actor of the Year for the LaF Podcast.
Yeah.
He's been in a ton of movies. Probably the only thing that you don't like about him is he was in that Star Wars movie.
I didn't like Ex Machina a whole lot either.
Yeah, you didn't hate it as much
Didn't hate
as...
it,
Yeah, I mean, it's still a top half of the movies you saw.
No, I think he's a talented actor. I've liked him in a lot of things that I've seen him in over the years. He stays busy.
Yeah, man, that dude has got a heck of a work ethic. I like that about him. Emory Cohen, the guy that played Tony, her Italian boyfriend, her husband, right?
Yeah, she marries
We're
him.
going to go ahead and spoil everything in these podcasts. We're not waiting for spoilers, are we?
Apparently not more than 5 minutes.
He was in Place Beyond the Pines, and he looked very different. He was not appealing.
Mm-hmm.
He's just creepy, and he played that part really well, and it made that movie... A lot of people didn't like that movie, Place Beyond the Pines, especially that section. I thought that section was pretty affecting because I have recognized some characteristics of students that I have in this guy. He was like really creepy and smarmy, and he also had a motivation that was underneath the character, played underneath the character. In this movie, I think he's really appealing. He seems like a good guy. He reminded me of a young Marlon Brando. Like, I think he could play Marlon Brando if they did a biopic of him.
Wow.
So he just sort of had that, I don't know, bearing. Julie Waters, who plays Mrs. Kehoe, the woman who is the, I guess, the boarding house director or directress. She's going to be reprising that role for a BBC America television series.
Ooh, my wife's going to be excited about that. She likes a lot of those BBC shows.
Did she like Brooklyn? Did she see Brooklyn?
She hasn't seen it yet. I keep telling her that we need to sit down and watch that.
I think that might even have a chance of drawing my interest. I might sit and watch the
BBC. I know
Mrs. Kehoe. I don't even know what the movie's going to be called. It might even be called Brooklyn, for all I know.
My wife's looking for something new after Downton Abbey is done.
Well, she might have to wait a couple of years or a year at least.
Yeah,
you got to strike while the iron's hot, though, with a movie like Brooklyn. If it gets some Oscar buzz, which I suppose it already has, Saoirse Ronan is nominated for Best Actress and the Best Adapted Screenplay. So this has 3 Oscar nominations.
I've liked the Saoirse Ronan since we saw Hannah back in 2011. She was real strong in that. She had a bit part in the Grand Budapest Hotel that I thought was pretty good. Then what else did I see her in? I saw her in How I Live Now, which is a little like dystopian type thing.
I never did watch that.
That's a good little film that she's been in. She's made a lot of smart choices as an actress. She's been able to show her range, not get pigeonholed in anything. I think she's ready to have a breakout year. Maybe not this year, but I'd say in the next 2 years, she's one of the hot actresses. She could be up there in Jennifer Lawrence territory.
Apparently, she read this book, Brooklyn, several years ago and just fell in love with it. So she's part of she was just really excited to see it being made. I was going to say that she might be part of the production behind it, but I'm not sure if that's entirely accurate. Of those 3 nominations, I would say Best Motion Picture is probably going to be the hardest for them to win. Best Performance by an Actress is going to be pretty difficult too, given the fact that Brie Larson's won a lot. And
Brie Larson pretty much has that locked down for The Room.
Gotten the other awards from other places. But this has a chance for Best Writing of an Adapted Screenplay. It was adapted by Nick Hornby from a novel by Colm Toibin, which same novel. That Nick Hornby wrote High Fidelity. And well, I don't think he wrote the screenplay, but he wrote the novel for Fever Pitch.
Yeah, which I thought was awesome.
One of my favorite rom-coms.
Yeah, he also wrote last year's
favorite rom-coms. I don't know.
He wrote a screenplay last year, Wild, with Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah,
that a lot of people were
really
excited about. So he's an up-and-coming writer in Hollywood.
Tony really liked it.
And then the director, I don't think we've mentioned yet, John Crowley. He's done movies like Closed Circuit. He did 2 episodes of True Detective. I think he's going to be in demand after this film.
Yeah, 2nd season of True Detective.
Yeah. And those were probably 2 of the better episodes.
Right. I don't know which ones they were, and I don't remember. I didn't look it up, but
I think they were the last 2 episodes. And just from a directorial standpoint, they were pretty good. And, I mean, there's some story holes and there's some character stuff that I don't think you can blame him for. But as a director, his ability to tell a story and to tell it visually is pretty strong, I feel.
Yeah, but this movie doesn't need to be a movie. It does. I mean, it's like I think around in the 1990s, 94, I saw a movie called Nobody's Fool. I recommended it a few weeks ago, maybe 3 or 4 months ago on a Wee Laugh. has Paul Newman in it, Melanie Griffith. And I realized at that time that you could, it wasn't until that time, which is, I don't know, I was in my late 20s, that I realized that you could appreciate a movie or a film on the same level that you could a short story or a book. And you could analyze it, break it down for its parts like you would other pieces of great literature. This is around the time when I first started writing the curriculum for what eventually became literature and film. So this movie reminds me of that experience. That movie, Nobody's Fool, because it's like a book. It reminds me of reading a book and then seeing that depth, or feeling the depth of the characters and the depth of their decisions and things of that nature. But visually, aside from some of the production values, it doesn't seem to be operating in the same arena as, say, The Revenant or Fury Road, or even Bridge of Spies, for that matter. Maybe even Room.
I mean, you could make an argument the subject matter is not as serious, but for the story it sets out to tell, it does that. I mean,
well, I'm not talking about subject matter. I was talking about cinematography, visually.
Oh, I felt like I was in the 1950s, even if I thought it was earlier. No, I thought the movie was filmed very well. I
guess you're missing my point. It seems more like a
I mean, The Revenant just has a grander palette to work with.
Right.
You know, inherently you're going to be drawn more towards that. Or, you know, Mad Max. Having 40 cars running through the desert is going to be more interesting than watching a girl work at the counter at like a Macy's type store. Right, yeah. I was getting it mixed up with Carol. But, yeah, you're right. They're both shop girls, I think. Yeah, so, but it's able to tell its story. It transports you into its world very effectively, which is what cinematography is supposed to do. Yeah, all right. So I just didn't seem to stick out in terms of that kind of, like, the same story could have been told on a BBC TV production, perhaps. Possibly. I do think this movie was helped by the fact that neither of us went into it having heard much about the film. We both saw this pretty early into award season. And I know I didn't read much about it. I saw it a couple weeks after you did, and you hadn't said much to me about it, and I just saw it was in theaters, knew, you know, I had some time to kill, so I went and watched it, and I was like, wow, that is just a solid film. I'm trying to think. If people had told me, oh yeah, this is going to be nominated for Best Picture, I may have set my bar a little too high then. But I think this is also a movie that people will discover in years to come and just go, wow, it's a nice, solid little film. It's quite the respite from some of the other movies that we've had to watch and review recently. Well, there's so many, yeah, Deadpool being the last film we talked about, but there's so many movies we go and see and we have high expectations for them and they don't meet them. You know, for me, it was Ex Machina a couple weeks ago. We were excited to go watch Jane Got a Gun, and then, you know, that one, I don't even think it knew it had to jump to clear a bar. It was trying to dig a tunnel. It was so low. It's nice to just see a quality picture where there's not really much to nitpick negatively about this film. I didn't fall asleep. That's a huge bonus. This movie, I did not fall asleep. And you're saying this was the middle of a triple feature for you? Yeah. Wow. Yep, and it was good. I'm glad I went and saw it. This is a very satisfying movie for me. What was your favorite part? Favorite part? Oh, I like her at the dinner table with her Italian boyfriend's family. Right. And the little brother who just says whatever is on his mind. Some of the best scenes this year happened around dinner tables.
Hey, how did you learn to eat spaghetti like that?
I've been taking lessons.
Lessons? Like in a class? You can do that. Maybe I could teach it.
No. Diana, who lives in the boarding house with me, cooked me some spaghetti and made me try and eat it without making a mess.
So, what do you eat in Ireland? Just Irish stew?
Not just,
So first of all, I should say that we don't like Irish people.
Hey,
Frankie.
What? We don't. That is a well-known fact.
Why, Frankie?
Because a big gang of Irish beat Maurizio up and he had to get stitches. And because all the cops around here are Irish, nobody did anything bad.
There's probably two sides to it. I might have said something I shouldn't. Yeah, I can't remember now.
No, because they beat you up.
Anyway, they probably weren't all Irish.
No, they just had red hair and big legs.
All right,
Excuse us.
All I can say in his defense is he's the only one of us who'll get a college education.
If he can keep his mouth shut.
So, Tony tells me you go to college.
Oh, just night classes. I want to be a bookkeeper. I like working in the shop well enough, but I don't want to be there forever.
I'm sorry, Eilis. I'm an idiot. I'm a rude idiot.
Francis Ford Coppola, he's talked about a lot of times when he's having actors practice and get into character, he has them eat a meal together in character because he feels that at a table eating food is when you really come out in the part and you show who you are, and you see so much of character dynamics in that.
Scene-stealing scene by his little younger brother, or scene-stealing acting. Like to see him in something else, like a little kid.
See if he can capture that magic in a bottle again.
What was your least favorite part of the movie?
That it had to end.
I had some problems with it.
If anything was a little too bad, it was the ending where she gives advice to the other immigrant girl about how to act and carry herself.
Same advice that she got earlier.
Well, she didn't even get all of that advice, but
really?
she's grown wiser. She gets some, and some of it she gets from her life experiences.
Yeah, that wasn't as heavy-handed as the ending of the book ending in Bridge of Spies.
Agreed.
Spielbergian.
But I was just like, oh, that's a little pat.
I didn't think the movie had enough conflict and evil in it. In fact, there wasn't any evil necessarily. I don't think that woman qualifies, the woman that has a little gossip on her. I don't think that she qualifies as being evil, even though she's going to try to, discredit her in some way. I think that's a function of her own, that woman's own peccadillos as a character. But she's not I don't want to say she's an evil character. The choices that Eilis has to make are like choosing between a pillow and a couch. I think I said this before. Like, it's going to be a pretty soft landing.
She's going to be happy with either life.
Right. It's not going to be you could leave your husband and just stay in Ireland, and that's a pretty horrible thing to do. It'll reflect poorly on your character, but it's not. Your life isn't going to be it's not going to be total degradation. Mm-hmm. No matter what that shopkeeper has to say. So I don't know. Her choices just seem to you're choosing between two very simple things or very easy things. So it just didn't seem to have, I don't know, it wasn't cutting enough.
I can see that argument, and I guess we don't get enough of the interactions between her and her mother. And when she chooses her American life, she's really shutting the door on the Irish side. In all of those years she spent in Ireland, right. She is saying to her old family, I'm leaving you guys, and I am going with this Italian husband of mine and starting a completely new life. That's probably a harder decision than the movie makes it seem like.
Probably right.
So, but overall, a solid little film. I'm glad that it's getting the buzz for Best Picture.
What did you think of today's review? Did the guys get it right? Or are you wondering what movie they watched? Send in your review by emailing the show at thelafpodcast@gmail.com, tweeting at the LaF Podcast, or messaging us on facebook.com/the LaF Podcast. We will read the best ones on a future show.
This next movie that we're going to be talking about next week, or next show.
Yeah, next show probably 2 days from now.
Yeah, whenever it drops, is got an inside track on Best Picture and some other nominations too. So, nominations for awards.
The Big Short.
Big Short. Yeah. Student's nickname for me. Mention that.
Nice.
All right, so for Mr. Two Frames over there.
Pleasure.
I'm the L Train. Pax et bonum, everybody.
There be dragons.